Welcome to Inside the Vault, Enterprise Bank's podcast series where we talk about items of interest to the small business community. Today we're going to hear another entrepreneurial story and learn about a great recreational venue in the center part of the state. With me today are Josh and Samantha Pat, the brother and sister team that run Lake Raystown Resort in central Pennsylvania. Josh, Samantha, welcome.
Hi, Dave.
So before we start talking about Lake Raystown and everything it has to offer our viewers and listeners, why don't you give us a little background? You come from an entrepreneurial family, both of you, and how you kind of grew up in a business environment, and then we'll talk about the resort specifically.
Every day was obviously a little different, but our dad was a real estate developer. He had everything from housing developments, a whole community in New Jersey, shopping centers, hotels. So there were lots of different things going on. And in fact, he even ran for governor at one point.
I didn't know that.
Yes.
I didn't know that.
So things were always interesting. Things were always, family dinners a lot of the time were kind of talking about work and things like that. But it was also really exciting too. And then in 1984, the Army Corps of Engineers put out a proposal, an ask for a proposal for this 400-acre tract of land right on Raystown Lake. So our dad submitted a proposal, and he got the bid to be the concessionaire, and that was really the start of Lake Raystown Resort.
Neat. So the lake itself is how old?
Well, interestingly, they're getting ready to hold the 50th anniversary of the new dam as the lake sits today. And also this is our 40th year of Lake Raystown Resort.
So like 10 years after the dam was built.
Well, yep. The new dam. There was a dam before the new dam. And I think a lot of the recreation back then was actually a water ski show from Jim's Anchorage, I think.
And it was only probably a quarter of the size of the current lake.
Yeah.
The old lake was.
And my understanding is it's, basically they flooded the valley, right?
Yeah. Yes.
And some roads and structures and different things.
Houses. Everything that was in the path of where the new lake was flooded. Old bridges, different roads, things like that.
Cool. So, Josh, was there ever any plans for you or for you, Samantha, to go work for somebody else and do a 9-to-5 job, or was it always, hey, we want to be in the family business? This is what we like.
Well, we both worked elsewhere after college, and that was important to our parents to have other experience, and neither of us was required or to come work for the family. It's only if we wanted to, and after we've experienced other things.
Right.
I think it was almost encouraged not to work for the family business, but to at least do something else first. It was never, when we were growing up, it was never expected that we would come back to help with the family business.
So what kind of experiences did the two of you have outside of your father's own ventures?
After college, I moved to New York City and had a wide variety of jobs there, from teaching middle school to working for Voter News Service, doing analysis of statistical data, and even working in a high-end liquor store briefly. So I did a bunch of stuff, and then finally my dad convinced me to come home and team up with Samantha.
So you went from the urban center of New York City to rural central Pennsylvania. How about you, Samantha?
Well, I went to graduate school in Philadelphia at Drexel. So while I was there, I worked at the TGI Fridays at the King of Prussia Mall. I was a server, a top 10 rated server. They rate their servers. And then I got promoted to a bartender. So I did that during graduate school, and I learned a lot of things about...
Best customer service positions you can have, right?
Yes, you learn a lot about people and hospitality, and it was interesting. The TGI Fridays there was a corporate store, so it was just interesting learning from one of the biggest franchises in the country, I guess, at the time. But I really enjoyed my time there. But then after graduate school, I worked for a division of Worthington Armstrong. It was called Worthington Armstrong Venture, and they manufactured the grids for drop ceilings, actually like what's in here. And I was in logistics there, so I was sort of like in charge of deciding what to make on the production floor next, and ordering the steel for the parts, and a lot of logistics work, which has come in handy even in operations. Yes, well. It does. Yeah. So yeah, that's what I did.
So, when and how did you all kind of come into the resort and the family business? I know it was unfortunate circumstances with your father's passing.
Well, I came in first.
Okay.
It was 2000, and I was living outside of Philadelphia in a suburb with my husband at the time. And my dad called, and he had to let go his general manager because they had been stealing, unfortunately. And it was, I think it was December around Christmas time, and he said, "Can you move home and see how it goes? Just till I find somebody else. It'll be, probably won't, if you want to stay, you can stay, but could you just come and help me in the meantime?" So I talked to my husband at the time, and we decided that we'd, see how it goes, and because he was from the Philadelphia area, so he'd never lived anywhere but there. And it went really well. Now I can't imagine it any other way, but it sure was an adjustment at first.
So what year was that?
It would have been 2000. So I've been there since 2000.
Okay. When did you get involved with the resort, Josh?
I came back in 2004, end of 2013, or 2003. So my first season there would have been 2004. And I worked right along with Samantha till about 2007, and then transitioned back to our main office in Hollidaysburg to help out with my father and the other properties, and was in Hollidaysburg until 2013 when we purchased and took over the resort from Jules.
And so you're basically a little more than 10 years in as owners?
11.
11 years,
April was the end of April was just yesterday was
yesterday
was the 11th anniversary. Yeah.
Neat. So obviously a lot has happened in the last 11 years in the economy and in the market. And so let's talk about COVID, because outdoor recreation got a huge boost from COVID. And how did it affect you all at Lake Raystown?
Well, it was kind of crazy when everything kind of shut down in March, because the phones just stopped ringing. That was just, we were lucky to get 1 or 2 calls a day, and then the calls came for cancellations, and then I'm sure, like everybody else, everybody's worried about how things are going to be and what is going on. And I think it's going to be 2 weeks, and then it's another 2 weeks, and then it's another 2 weeks. But once it was announced in Pennsylvania that I think were golf courses first. It was golf courses were first, and then campgrounds were a week behind, I think. The marina, we weren't able to open the marina right away.
Correct.
But I think it was the governor announced that May 7th campgrounds could open. Well,
did the floodgates open then?
Yes, it was crazy. The phone didn't stop ringing. It was just crazy how many people were calling, how many people were coming. It was really just an interesting time, because also people then there were people that wanted jobs. They wanted to get out of the house. They wanted something to do other than being at home. And then the stores were still closed, so we had a lot of choices for staff then at the beginning of the pandemic, and so many guests, people that were coming that wouldn't have come camping otherwise. You could just see they weren't usual campground guests. People were buying campers. A whole new group of potential guests, basically.
So yours was one of the industries that actually
we flourished,
still benefiting
for sure
from that boost, just like the golf industry is. And
I would say we flourished for sure during the pandemic.
Yeah. So, let's talk about, just to give our viewers and listeners some that haven't been to the resort, what is available? What kind of recreational activities? What kind of accommodations? What kind of service offerings do you all have at the resort? I know it's a huge scope, but what are some of the high points? What can a visitor to Lake Raystown Resort expect?
Like Samantha said, we're on 400 acres right on the shore. We have the only overnight accommodations. We have 220 campsites, 83 cabins, a small hotel. We have a couple retail stores, a beach. We have a small water park, a 22,000 square foot conference center for weddings and business groups. And just a ton of hiking and biking, boating. We rent boats, great jet skiing, fishing, just anything you want to do outdoors, really.
And you got some really cool, on the accommodations lodging side, you got some varied types of facilities that people can stay in, right?
Yes, we have some park models like the tiny homes. We have some rustic pine cabins, which is kind of like roughing it in a cabin in a way, and kind of everything in between.
And the resort, I understand, just opened for the season. What?
Last weekend, April 19th.
So what's your busy season? I mean, obviously you shut down in the coldest months except for conferences, right?
Yeah, well, we're generally open mid-April through the end of October. This year, for 2024, closing day is November 3rd. It's a Sunday. But yeah, the busy season, or we call it peak season, is basically Memorial Day to Labor Day. But depending on what goes on, always when we get things ready to open, it's always a little chaotic in a different way than when there are guests there. This year, about 2 weeks, I think, before we opened, we got 5 inches of rain, which always can, we're on a flood control lake. So the lake always does its job pretty well, but sometimes it causes
that hurts you guys.
Yeah. It was the first flood in my or high water event, I like to call them, but that happened before we opened. We've never had one like that before, like so close to opening.
Any significant damage?
No, usually there isn't. The lake went up 9 feet in level, wow. So it was a pretty significant amount of rain. But nothing flooded. But the camps, it just makes a lot of extra work. The driftwood, when the water comes up, it brings with it all of the driftwood and the junk, kind of with the flow of the water. And then when the water recedes, it leaves everything on the shoreline. So on top of opening and all the turning the water on and bringing staff back, and you can never plan for something like that, but that definitely creates a busy time for us. Things were kind of chaotic. On
a seasonal basis, you guys are a major employer. How many workers do you bring in for the season?
Right about 275.
Wow.
Yeah, and we gear up from about 40 full time to that 275, which is a peak around July 4th, and then it slowly goes back down right after Thanksgiving to about our full time 40.
Yeah, some of them work just 2 days a week in housekeeping, or they're not all full-time 40-hour staff members.
So how has that labor market been for you all to manage? Because a lot of my customers, that's been their biggest challenge since the pandemic, is finding good people, or people that are willing to work, or retaining employees.
Yeah, for sure. 2021 and 2022, and even last year, were a definite challenge. People didn't want to work or come back to work. Some people, I'm sure, were scared to come back to work, especially at a place that is busy and crowded, even though it is outdoors. So there were a lot of challenges with that. This year, I think there are more people that want to work maybe a second job or a couple hours in the evening, or teachers that traditionally used to want their summers off now want to work at least part-time during the summer. Yeah. So I do think that's getting a little bit better. It seems to be coming back for sure. More qualified people, more people that are working full-time already and want a few extra hours and that kind of thing. So that's good news.
And I'm assuming a lot of your employees, because it's a seasonal business, are kind of non-traditional, maybe some students, retirees. teachers.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then there are a lot of our like seasonal managers. They are just off in the winter and they like to spend the winters with their family. And then they come back in the next spring. So there's another segment of people that, work with us from, let's just say they help us open mid-March till and close till mid-November. And then they're off for those couple months.
Yeah. So obviously you've had your own experiences in the corporate world and outside the family. And as you mentioned, your father, Jules, had a lot of varied types of businesses. What do you find most unique or challenging about running a resort from a small business management perspective?
Well, just no day is ever the same as the last, for sure. With just our operation, with so many people around, employees, guests, just everything. Every day is new. You just never know what challenge is going to pop up that day. It's.
I imagine weather's a big variable for you all.
weather, yeah. So it's just, it's interesting every day that you go in. It's just always something new.
How do the two of you kind of split up responsibilities for running the resort?
Well,
or is it all hands on deck?
It's always all hands on deck all the time. But I don't know. We never sat down and had a conversation about who's going to do what or who's in charge of what. Somehow it just kind of naturally happens. I don't know. We're lucky that way. We don't have any conflicts or very rarely have anything that we don't agree upon. So
that's going to be rare for brother and sister.
Yeah, people tell us that a lot. But I mean, I don't know. We just never sat down and said, I'll do this, you do that. The only thing that we did decide during COVID, so during COVID 2020, we decided it was best for one of us to be there most of the time. So he did mornings and afternoons, and I did afternoons till nighttime. So, and we've kind of kept up with that. That works out well, even though, sometimes it's hard being there not all night, but
right.
Night when my husband works basically daytime. But it does work out better because I'm able to troubleshoot and then not have to wait till the morning. And then he comes in, it's already dealt with. And I've already texted him, so he knows. It just seems to improve the flow of things and give consistency.
So, what's new for this year? Anything specifically new for this season?
We did a lot of just maintenance upgrades like we always do over the winter. New roofs, some new bathroom renovations, new showers in the hotel rooms. Just kind of all the stuff that you only can do in the winter when we're closed and not occupied. No major projects this year. Last year we upgraded our 12 park models. And so that was our big project last year. And hopefully over this winter, we're going to be putting in a new water treatment plant, replacing our existing plant with a new plant and some new technology.
So how many visitors do you get to the resort average on a season?
In a season, I'm not quite sure. I know, I think the lake overall pulls 4 million a year, I think is what the Visitors Bureau figure is. When we're fully occupied on a busy July weekend, we'll have about 5,000 people staying with us between the marina and all the accommodations.
That's a lot of data to manage.
Yeah, it is.
So I'm assuming in today's world, you guys leverage technology a lot to kind of assist in running the resort, particularly from a reservation perspective, right?
Yeah, for sure. Although technology in a very rural area presents its own difficulties, especially with power outages, and you always hope that everything comes back up online. And I just think, yes, we do rely on it, but it presents some sometimes scary, scenarios if things don't come back up because we do rely on it so heavily.
And you have a kind of a national affiliation, don't you? With kind of a campground, is it a trade association or?
No, So a gentleman named Andrew Cates started RVC Outdoor Destinations, and his idea was that there was no segmentation in the campground outdoor hospitality industry like there is in hotels. If you stay at a Hilton or a Marriott or a Hampton Inn, right,
yeah.
you know what level,
Super 8, you know
what to expect. And so he started RVC Outdoor Destinations to be like the Hilton of the campground outdoor hospitality destination. You know what to expect when you get there, what level of service. And we talked to him, and we really agreed with his philosophy, because we had a problem defining ourselves. You know, we weren't just a campground. We have all these other things that really outdoor hospitality and an outdoor destination really fit what we've been doing for 30 years. And so we became the first non-owned, non-managed RVC outdoor destination. So we leveraged their national brand name, some of their advertising abilities and things like that. And we just really fit in with their principles, and we like their team, and they like us. So it's worked out well. We're coming up on 10 years with them.
Yeah. I think prior to becoming an RVC outdoor destination, we kind of struggled, the resort struggled with people doing Google searches and then thinking our name was Lake Raystown Resort Lodge and Conference Center once we built the conference center. So I think people sort of saw, or they didn't do enough research, but they would assume that we were like a sprawling Bedford Springs or something like that had tennis courts and a spa. So I feel like the term outdoor destination fixed a lot of those things for us, and we are definitely getting the right mix of guests that know what we are now.
I'm assuming with that affiliation and your own marketing efforts, you guys pull not just a local audience, but pull from great distances. You guys track any of that?
Yeah. Pittsburgh, here in Pittsburgh is a main draw. Harrisburg, Lancaster, York, Baltimore, Jersey Shore, not Jersey Shore, Pennsylvania, but the actual Jersey Shore, and parts of West Virginia are kind of our main.
For reference for our viewers and listeners, can you kind of explain where the resort is located for those that aren't familiar with it?
Yeah, the easiest way is we're about an hour south of State College, where Penn State University is. So really halfway between Harrisburg and Pittsburgh.
Huntington County.
Yep, Huntington County.
So from Pittsburgh, it's what, about 2.5?
About 2 hours.
Yeah.
We have a map in our lobby that is the old school kind where you
Pin map.
And people like to put their pins in there, but we have, I guess I don't know if they're really telling the truth, but we have a couple pins from most states, including Alaska. Obviously, the Northeast has a lot of pins, but there are pins, and we get people flying in for weddings even from California. Just this past weekend, we had a search and rescue dog group doing some training with all sorts of dogs, and there were vendors that flew in from, I talked to a woman from California.
So I'm assuming, being primarily outdoor, you guys are pet-friendly resort?
We are. All the campsites are pet-friendly, and then we have 4 pet-friendly pine cabins, the rustic type, that are very popular. But all the campsites are pet-friendly.
Neat. So let's talk about the relationship with the bank. So pretty long relationship at this point. Started with Jules. I've been here. You said you kind of came back in 2003. That's actually when I started here at the bank. So you've been a very long-term client of the bank.
I think Samantha was on the cover of the newsletter in like 2001.
That's right. You and your dad. Yeah, I do remember that.
But I think it was later than that, because I think I was pregnant with Ellie. So maybe 2002 or 2003.
Right.
Or maybe there was another one too, but I think I remember, I think I was wearing a yellow polo shirt.
Yeah. But you guys hold, I don't know if you're aware, you hold a couple of distinctions here at the bank. You're among our largest customers.
Okay.
From from an employee size and overall business size perspective. You're right on probably the furthest in our market area that we cover, because we typically kind of stop at Huntington County and kind of work west from there. So tell us a little bit about, your relationship with the bank, what you like, what you don't like.
Well, there's really nothing we don't like.
Good answer. Thank you.
I mean, when we made the decision to transition and purchase the resort, I sent you an email or called, I don't remember, and I think I emailed you, and you called me back right away, and you were like, "Yeah, we can do that," and we put a package together in record time. I think it would have been even faster if there wasn't a snowstorm in the middle that pushed everything back a little bit. But just from working with many other lenders on other projects, I can say that working with Enterprise has been great, because you really have somebody to call. You're not just a number. You really get answers right away. And during COVID, when everybody nobody knew what was happening with the PPP money and those crazy applications and just all.
We were lucky that we had good SBA background.
Yeah.
At that point.
Well, yeah, we belong to this. It's a a group of campgrounds from all across the country in non-competing areas. So none of us compete with each other. And we meet twice a year. Obviously not during 2020, right. We didn't. But I remember the email thread among all of the people in that group was like, does anybody know what's going on with their PPP? And I've had to fill out 6 different applications and all these different people. And I remember when we were notified from Enterprise Bank that ours went through, I sent an email out saying, just to let you guys know, we got ours today. And we were the first one in our 20 group of all across the country to get the PPP money.
Yeah.
That few month period redefined bankers' hours.
Sure.
We were here at 1:00 in the morning processing PPP loans.
But not every bank would do that for you.
Yeah.
So I do feel, and it's nice having the same contacts, even from when our dad was with Enterprise to now. Everybody's still the same.
Yeah.
So we got to put a plug in for Joe Nowitzki, right?
Yes.
We got to also beat him up a little bit for being afraid to come on camera today. But good guy. Obviously, he's worked with you for a long time. But I just want to say, from the bank's perspective, I mean, we know, the resort is very strong. We know you have lots of banking options, so we appreciate the long-term relationship. So what's the future hold for Lake Raystown? I know you mentioned you've always got to keep up with projects and get them done in the off season so they're ready for the next season.
I think our next big one is we'd like to revamp the water park with a really great lagoon style activity pool, and with lots of features and things like that. I think that's kind of the next one on the horizon. But always continuing to do those projects, new docks, just all of that stuff that people look forward to every year when they come back to see what's new.
So I imagine your bread and butter is your families that come back every year, right?
Yeah, for sure. And also the hopes of every year getting new guests to sort of start a family tradition of coming. Mm-hmm. So, but we do have lots of multi-generational families where, the grandparents brought the parents, and then the parents brought their children, and now the children are having children, and they still end up coming year after year or every other year, or a couple times a summer, just depending. So that's good. So hopefully with getting more families that will start a tradition.
I know our bank picnic again here at Enterprise this year. We take the whole staff out to Lake Raystown. Second or third time we're doing that. Yep. We have a blast out there. So if someone's interested in visiting the resort or learning more about it or making a reservation, how do they find you all?
Yeah, so Raystownresort.com is our website. Our phone number is on the website. We have active social media on Facebook and Instagram too, so that's available also.
And they can make reservations right through the website?
Yeah, right online, or they can call.
Right. Excellent. Last thing, advice for either existing small business owners or aspiring entrepreneurs based on the experience you've had at the resort and elsewhere. Any words of wisdom? Josh, we'll start with you.
Have fun. If it's not fun, to me it doesn't work. We like to have fun at work, and
it's a little easier for you guys to have fun in your type of.
It is. My dogs come to work, and just to keep it a little lighthearted, and I think that's important.
Samantha?
I guess don't be afraid to take risks, and it is important to have fun. It's also can be hard not having like a regular 9-to-5 job, but it's very rewarding. And then we don't have winters off, but winters are a lot less stressful than summertime. So, but yeah, I guess all those things.
Well, greatly appreciate you guys making the trip over here to Pittsburgh in your busy season. I apologize for the scheduling, but for those of you that are interested in seeing what the resort has to offer, as Samantha just mentioned, LakeRaystownResort.com. For those of you that have any ideas for future episodes of Inside the Vault or have any questions, you can email us at insidethevault@enterprisebankpgh.com. You can check us out in audio format on all the major platforms and in video format on YouTube. Thank you very much for watching or listening.